When a small town becomes their feeding ground, one man's arrival sets off a deadly confrontation that will leave the forests stained with blood. I'm Mr. Midnight Hollow, your terrifying host, and you're about to hear that story in today's episode of Terrifying Encounters. If you're already part of our community, your support means the world to us. Each like, comment, and share helps uncover more stories like this. Or subscribe to see what rises from the depths of darkness and unfolds before you. Now, let's begin. The call came at 3 in the morning. I was already awake, staring at the cracked ceiling of my motel room in Amarillo, Texas. Sleep had become a luxury I couldn't afford anymore, not since I'd started tracking the patterns. My phone vibrated against the nightstand, the screen illuminating the darkness with its pale glow. "This is Garrett," I answered, my voice rough from disuse. "Mr. Holt?" A woman's voice, trembling. "My name is Beth Patterson. I got your number from Reverend Miller up in Wyoming. He said you might be able to help us." I sat up, reaching for the notebook I kept beside my bed. Reverend Miller was one of the few people who knew what I really did for a living. If he'd given out my number, the situation was serious. "Go on." "It's my town. Millbrook, Montana. Something's been killing people. The police think it's a bear, but..." Her voice broke. "But I saw it. 3 nights ago. It walked on 2 legs. It had human eyes." My blood ran cold. Human eyes. That detail changed everything. "How many dead?" 5 in the last 2 weeks. Hunters mostly. Found torn apart in the woods. But last night it came into town. It killed Tom Harrison in his own backyard. The whole family heard him screaming. I was already pulling on my jeans, cradling the phone between my shoulder and ear. "What phase is the moon?" "What?" "The moon, Miss Patterson. What phase?" A pause. "It's almost full. Tomorrow night it'll be complete." Tomorrow night. 1 day. My chest tightened. "I'm in Texas. I can be there by tomorrow evening. Text me the address. And Miss Patterson, don't go out after dark. Keep your doors locked. Put salt along every windowsill and doorway." "Salt? Just do it." "And one more thing. Does anyone in Millbrook own silver bullets?" The silence on the other end told me she understood what I was implying. "Oh God," she whispered. "I'll be there soon," I said and ended the call. I stood in front of the mirror, studying my reflection. At 43, I looked older. The scars didn't help. Thin white lines across my jaw from a Wendigo in Saskatchewan. The puckered tissue on my shoulder from a ghoul in Louisiana. But it was my eyes that showed the real damage. They were the eyes of a man who'd seen too much darkness. My real name isn't Garrett Holt. That's just the name I use for this work. The name my parents gave me doesn't matter anymore. They died when I was 17, killed by something the police called a wild animal attack. But I knew better. I'd seen the tracks. I'd seen the way their bodies were positioned. And I'd spent the next 26 years hunting the things that killed them. I packed quickly, efficiently. Silver bullets, both. 45 caliber for my pistol and 12-gauge shells for the shotgun. Wolfsbane, carefully sealed in plastic bags. Mountain ash wood carved into stakes. Holy water from 6 different churches. Salt, lots of salt. And my grandfather's hunting knife. The blade etched with symbols that predated Christianity. The knife was the most important. It had belonged to old William Crane, passed down through his bloodline for generations. I wasn't his biological grandson, but he'd taken me in after my parents died. Trained me. Taught me that the monsters in fairy tales were based on reality. Showed me how to kill them. "The world is thinner than people think," he used to say in his deep southern drawl. "There are cracks where the darkness seeps through. And someone has to stand guard at those cracks." William had been hunting werewolves for 50 years before I met him. He was the best there ever was. But even the best eventually get old, get slow. He died on a hunt in Colorado, taking down a pack of 3. He killed them all, but his wounds were too severe. I found him in a cabin surrounded by silver shell casings and the bodies of monsters. His last words to me, "Don't stop, never stop, because if we stop, they win." I loaded everything into my truck, a battered Ford F-150 with Montana plates that I'd bought specifically because it wouldn't draw attention in small towns. The engine turned over with a growl, and I pulled out of the motel parking lot as the first hints of dawn colored the eastern sky. Millbrook, Montana was 1,700 miles away. With minimal stops, I could make it in 24 hours. I had until tomorrow night. That meant one night to gather intel, prepare, and position myself. One night to figure out what I was dealing with before the full moon rose. Because Ms. Patterson was wrong about one thing. This wasn't a werewolf. At least, not the traditional kind. Traditional lycanthropes followed strict patterns. They were slaves to the lunar cycle, transforming only during the full moon. But 5 kills in 2 weeks, with the full moon still a day away? That meant I was dealing with something else. Something that could transform at will. Something far more dangerous. A skinwalker, maybe? Or a berserker. Perhaps even a loup-garou, the Cajun variant that retained human intelligence during transformation. Whatever it was, it had made a mistake. It had come into town. It had let itself be seen. And that meant it was either getting careless or growing so confident that it didn't care about witnesses anymore. Neither option was good. I merged onto I-40, heading north and west. The sun rose behind me, painting the Texas landscape in shades of gold and red. Beautiful. Peaceful. A lie. Because I knew the truth. I knew what hid in the shadows of those picturesque small towns. I knew what waited in the forests and the mountains and the deep places where humans rarely ventured. And I knew that somewhere in Millbrook, Montana, a creature was watching the moon grow fuller, feeling its power increase, and planning its next kill. My phone buzzed. A text from Beth Patterson. 428 Maple Street. Please hurry. Another attack last night. Sheriff's deputy. He's alive, but barely. 6 victims now. The creature was accelerating. I pressed harder on the gas pedal. The truck's engine roared in response. Hang on, Millbrook, I thought. Help is coming. But even as I drove, a familiar doubt crept into my mind. What if this time I was too late? What if this time the creature was stronger, faster, smarter than me? What if this time I didn't make it out alive? I pushed the thoughts away and focused on the road ahead. Fear was natural. William had taught me that. But letting fear control you was how you died. The miles stretched out before me, and behind me, the sun continued its arc across the sky, counting down the hours until darkness fell once again. I crossed into Montana just after sunset. The sky bled from orange to deep purple, and I could feel the weight of the approaching night pressing down on me. The highway stretched empty before my headlights, bordered by dense forests that seemed to lean closer as darkness fell. My phone rang. Beth Patterson again. Mr. Holt, where are you? About 40 miles out. What's happened? Her breath came in short gasps. It's the deputy, Michael Brooks. He died an hour ago. Never woke up from the attack. And there's something else. I waited, my knuckles white against the steering wheel. His wounds. The doctors said they'd never seen anything like it. The tissue around the bites was necrotic, black, like it had been dead for days, not hours. And the smell? What about the smell? Sulfur. The whole hospital room reeked of it. My blood went cold. Sulfur meant something worse than a simple lycanthrope. Much worse. Miss Patterson, listen carefully. I need you to tell me everything about this town. Any old stories, any legends, anything unusual that's happened in the past. I don't understand. Just do it. Meet me at 428 Maple Street in 30 minutes. and bring anyone who knows the history of Millbrook. Old-timers. People who've lived here their whole lives. Okay, I'll try. I ended the call and pushed the truck faster. The speedometer climbed to 80, then 90. The forests blurred past, an endless wall of shadows. Millbrook appeared suddenly, a cluster of lights nestled in a valley surrounded by mountains. Population 3,200 according to the faded sign at the town limits. The main street was deserted. Every business closed. Even the diner, which should have been serving dinner, had its lights off and a closed sign hanging crooked in the window. The fear was palpable. You could feel it in the air, thick as smoke. I found Maple Street easily. Number 428 was a small white house with a wraparound porch. 3 vehicles were already parked outside. Beth Patterson stood on the porch, a thin woman in her 50s with graying hair and eyes that hadn't slept in days. "Mr. Holt," she said as I climbed out of the truck. "Thank God you're here." I grabbed my duffel bag from the truck bed and followed her inside. 3 people waited in the living room. An elderly man with a weathered face sat in a recliner, his hands trembling slightly. A middle-aged woman with dark circles under her eyes perched on the edge of the couch. And a younger man, maybe 30, stood by the window, constantly glancing at the darkening street outside. "This is Henry Walsh," Beth said, gesturing to the old man. "He's lived in Millbrook for 78 years. This is Margaret Foster, our town librarian, and that's Deputy Jake Morrison. He was Michael's partner." I nodded to each of them and set my bag down. "Tell me about the attacks, every detail. Start from the beginning." Henry cleared his throat. "Started about 2 weeks ago. Jimmy Kovacs, a logger, was found 3 miles north of town. What was left of him anyway, torn apart. The sheriff said it was a grizzly, but Jimmy knew these woods better than anyone. He wouldn't have gotten that close to a bear. Then came the Patterson brothers," Margaret added. "Bow hunters. Found them near Silver Creek. Same condition, shredded. But here's the thing. There were no bear tracks, just human footprints, bare feet, leading to the bodies and then just stopping." "Stopping?" I asked. "Like whoever made them just vanished into thin air." I felt the familiar tingle at the base of my skull, the one that told me this was going to be bad. "What about the other victims?" Deputy Morrison finally spoke, his voice rough. "Dale Hutchins, truck driver, killed at the rest stop on Highway 12. Security camera caught something, but the footage was corrupted. Just static. And then Tom Harrison, right in his backyard. His wife and kids were inside. They heard him screaming for help, but by the time they got to the back door, he was already dead. Throat torn out. Eyes still open. And my partner," he continued, his jaw clenching. "Michael went to investigate a noise behind the station last night around 11. I heard him yell. By the time I got outside, it was gone, and Michael was on the ground, bleeding. He kept saying it smiled at him. Said it had human teeth but a wolf's face. Said it spoke to him." "What did it say?" Morrison's face went pale. "It said, 'Tell them I'm coming for all of them.'" The room fell silent. Beth wrapped her arms around herself, shivering despite the warm house. "Henry," I said, turning to the old man, "any legends? Any stories about this area? Anything that might explain this?" The old man's eyes grew distant. "My grandfather used to tell a story about a trapper who came to these mountains back in the 1880s. Name was Ezekiel Thorne. Came from somewhere back east. Kept to himself mostly. But he was a strange one. People said he'd go into the woods for weeks at a time, always during the full moon. And when he'd come back, there'd be stories of missing livestock, missing people. Go on." "One winter, a group of men decided to follow him. See what he was doing up there. Only one came back. Said they'd tracked Thorn to a cave about 10 miles north. Said they saw him change, saw him become something else. Something with fur and fangs and eyes that glowed yellow in the dark. The survivor said Thorn killed the other men, tore them apart, and then he just walked away, back into the cave. What happened to Thorn? Nobody knows. He disappeared after that. Some say he died in those woods. Others say he's still up there, waiting. Margaret leaned forward. There's more. I've been researching this since the killing started. Ezekiel Thorn had a son, Luther Thorn. And Luther had children. And those children had children. The Thorn family has lived in these mountains for generations. They're still here. My pulse quickened. Where? About 15 miles north of town. Old property. Hasn't been maintained in years. The current owner is a man named Caleb Thorn, late 30s. Keeps to himself. Works as a hunting guide. Nobody sees him much, especially around the full moon. I stood up and walked to the window. The moon was rising, fat and luminous, hanging just above the mountain peaks, almost full. Tomorrow night it would reach its peak. Deputy Morrison, I said, I need you to take me to the Thorn property. Tonight. Are you crazy? With that thing out there? That thing is exactly why we need to go. If Caleb Thorn is what I think he is, we need to know now, before tomorrow night. Beth stood up. What do you think he is? I turned to face them, and I could see the fear in their eyes. They wanted me to tell them it was just a bear, just a crazy person, anything normal, anything they could understand. But I couldn't lie to them. I think you have a werewolf, I said quietly. A true lycanthrope, and if the legends about Ezekiel Thorn are true, this bloodline has been cursed for over 140 years. That means Caleb Thorn isn't just transforming during the full moon. He's transforming whenever he wants. He's in control. And that makes him the most dangerous thing I've ever hunted. The silence that followed was broken only by the ticking of a clock on the mantel and the distant howl of wind through the mountains. Or maybe it wasn't wind at all. Deputy Morrison drove. His patrol car crawled up the mountain road, headlights cutting through the darkness like knives. I sat in the passenger seat, my .45 loaded with silver bullets resting in my lap. The shotgun lay across the back seat within easy reach. You really believe in this stuff? Morrison asked, his voice tight. Werewolves? Doesn't matter what I believe, I said, watching the tree line. What matters is what's real. And I've seen enough to know that the world is a lot stranger than most people think. Michael was a good cop, a good man. He had a wife, 2 kids. I know. If Caleb Thorn did this, I want to be the one who puts him down. I glanced at him. His jaw was set, his hands gripping the wheel so hard his knuckles had gone white. Anger, grief, dangerous emotions when hunting something like this. Deputy, I need you to understand something. If Caleb Thorn is what I think he is, your service pistol won't do anything but make him angry. You follow my lead. You do exactly what I say. Otherwise, you'll end up like your partner. He didn't respond, but I saw his throat work as he swallowed. The road narrowed, turning to gravel and then dirt. The forest pressed close on both sides, the trees ancient and massive. No houses, no lights, just wilderness. How much farther? I asked. About 3 miles. The Thorn property is at the end of this road. Nothing beyond it but mountains and national forest. Perfect place for a predator to hide. The radio crackled. Beth Patterson's voice came through, distorted by static. Deputy Morrison, do you copy? Morrison grabbed the radio. I'm here, what's wrong? We just got a call. Jenny Mitchell didn't come home from work. Her car was found on Old Mill Road. Engine still running. Driver's door open. No sign of her. Damn it, Morrison muttered. That's only 2 miles from town. There's more, Beth continued. Her boyfriend said she called him around 7. Said she saw something crossing the road, something big. She sounded scared. The call cut off mid-sentence. I checked my watch. 7:30 now. 30 minutes ago. Tell everyone to stay inside, I said into the radio. Lock the doors. Don't go out for any reason. We're almost at the Thorne property. Be careful, Beth said, and the radio went silent. Morrison accelerated. The car bounced over ruts and potholes. Tree branches scraped against the windows. Then we saw it. A mailbox, rusted and leaning. The name Thorne barely visible in faded paint. A driveway, overgrown with weeds, leading into deeper darkness. Morrison turned off the headlights and killed the engine. We sat in silence for a moment, listening. The wind had died. No crickets, no birds, just an oppressive quiet that made my skin crawl. Something's wrong, Morrison whispered. He was right. The forest was too quiet. Animals knew when predators were near. They went silent. They hid. I opened the door carefully, minimizing the sound. Morrison did the same. I grabbed the shotgun, checked the chamber. Silver shells. I handed Morrison a box of silver bullets for his Glock. Load these, I said. Regular ammunition won't kill it, but silver will slow it down. Aim for center mass. Keep shooting until it doesn't get back up. He loaded the bullets with shaking hands, his breath coming faster. We moved up the driveway on foot, staying close to the tree line. The house appeared gradually through the darkness. A cabin, really? 2 stories, wood siding that had seen better days. No lights. A pickup truck parked out front, covered in mud and pine needles. The front door stood open. Morrison started forward, but I grabbed his arm, holding him back. I pointed to the ground. Tracks. Bare footprints in the dirt, leading from the house toward the forest. But these weren't normal footprints. They were too large, the toes too elongated. And there was something else. Blood. A trail of blood droplets leading away from the house. I pulled out a flashlight, keeping the beam low. We approached the door slowly. The smell hit me before we crossed the threshold. Copper and rot. Death. Inside, the cabin was a wreck. Furniture overturned, claw marks gouged deep into the walls, and blood. Everywhere. Splattered across the floor, the walls, the ceiling, but no body. Morrison's flashlight swept the room, stopping on the far wall. Words had been carved into the wood, the letters crude and deep. The hunger never ends. Jesus Christ, Morrison breathed. I moved deeper into the house, following the blood trail. It led to the kitchen, to an open basement door. Stairs descended into darkness. The smell was worse down there, stronger. Stay here, I told Morrison. Watch the front door. Anything moves, you shoot it. You're going down there alone? One of us needs to watch our backs. I descended before he could argue. The stairs creaked under my weight. The basement was cold, the air thick and damp. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing a dirt floor, stone walls, and bodies. Or what was left of them? 3 of them, partially decomposed, stacked against the far wall like cordwood. The missing hunters. I recognized the clothing from the descriptions Beth had given me, but they weren't killed recently. These bodies had been here for weeks, maybe longer, which meant the attacks were continuing. The creature was hunting more than we knew about. I heard Morrison shout from upstairs. I ran, took the stairs 3 at a time, burst into the kitchen to find Morrison backing away from the front door, his gun raised, his face white with terror. In the doorway stood a woman. She was young, maybe 25, wearing torn clothing. Her hair was matted with blood. Her eyes were wide and glassy. Jenny Mitchell. "Help me," she whispered. "Please. It's still out there. It's still—" She collapsed. Morrison rushed forward to catch her, but I grabbed him, yanking him back. "Don't touch her," I said. "What? She needs help." "Look at her neck." Morrison's flashlight beam found what I'd already seen. Bite marks, deep puncture wounds on both sides of her throat. Fresh, still bleeding. "No," Morrison said. "No, we can still save her. We can—" Jenny's eyes snapped open, but they weren't her eyes anymore. They glowed yellow in the darkness. Her lips pulled back, revealing teeth that were too long, too sharp. And she smiled. I fired. The shotgun blast was deafening in the confined space. The silver buckshot caught Jenny in the chest, throwing her backward through the doorway. She hit the ground outside, convulsing. Morrison stood frozen, his gun still holstered, staring at where Jenny had been standing. "Move!" I shouted, grabbing him by the collar and dragging him toward the back of the house. Behind us, I heard the sound. The wet, crackling sound of bones breaking and reforming. The sound of something changing. We burst through the back door into the night. The forest loomed before us, an impenetrable wall of darkness. I could hear Jenny, or what Jenny was becoming, snarling behind us. The sound was inhuman, primal. "Run," I said, "into the trees. Don't stop." Morrison finally found his legs and we ran. Branches whipped at our faces. Roots tried to trip us. The darkness was absolute beneath the canopy. I used my flashlight sparingly, just enough to avoid slamming into trees. Behind us, something howled. It started low, almost human, and then rose into a shriek that made my blood freeze. It was answered by another howl from somewhere to our left, and then another from the right. "There's more than one," Morrison gasped as we ran. "I know." We weren't dealing with a single werewolf. We were dealing with a pack. Caleb Thorne had been busy. How many had he turned? How many people in Millbrook were already infected, waiting for the transformation to complete? The trees opened suddenly into a clearing, an old logging road, long abandoned. I grabbed Morrison and pulled him down behind a fallen log. "Quiet," I whispered. "Don't move." We waited. The forest around us was alive with sounds now. Movement in the underbrush, the snap of twigs, heavy breathing that wasn't quite human. My flashlight was off, but the moon provided enough light to see shapes moving between the trees. 3 of them, walking on 2 legs but hunched forward. Their proportions were wrong. Arms too long, heads too large. They moved with an unsettling gait, sniffing the air. Morrison's breathing was too loud. I pressed my hand over his mouth, feeling him trembling beneath my palm. The creatures circled the clearing. One of them, Jenny, I thought, based on the torn clothing hanging from its frame, moved closer to our hiding spot. She was maybe 20 feet away, close enough that I could see the details. Her face was caught somewhere between human and wolf. The nose had elongated into a snout, black and glistening. Her eyes were yellow, reflective in the moonlight. Fur covered parts of her body, but patches of bare skin showed through. The transformation wasn't complete yet. She was caught in between. She sniffed the air again. Her head swiveled in our direction. I slowly, carefully raised the shotgun. 1 shot. I'd get 1 shot before the others were on us. Then a voice called out from across the clearing. "Looking for me?" A man stepped into the moonlight. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and a beard. He wore jeans and a flannel shirt, both splattered with blood. His eyes were calm, almost amused. Caleb Thorne. The 3 creatures turned toward him immediately, their attention shifting. They didn't attack. They waited. "I know you're out there, Hunter," Caleb said, his voice carrying clearly through the night air. "I can smell you, silver and wolfsbane and desperation. You think you're the first to come after me? The first to try to end my bloodline? He walked to the center of the clearing. His movements relaxed, confident. My great-great-grandfather Ezekiel figured out the secret. The curse isn't a curse at all. It's a gift, power, strength, immortality if you're careful. All you have to do is embrace it, stop fighting it. Let the beast become who you really are. Morrison's hand moved to his gun. I shook my head sharply. Not yet. I've built something here, Caleb continued. A family. A pack. Everyone in this town who was strong enough, brave enough, to accept what I offered them. And tomorrow night, when the moon is full, we'll have the strength to stop hiding. We'll take what's ours, starting with Millbrook, then spreading. He smiled, and even in human form, his teeth looked too sharp. But you're a problem, you and your silver bullets. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to come out. You're going to put down your weapons. And you're going to let us end this quickly. Or, he gestured to the creatures around him, or my family hunts down everyone in that town, starting with Beth Patterson and her 2 children. I know where they live. I know which window is the little girl's bedroom. Morrison tensed beside me. I gripped his arm hard enough to bruise. Don't move. Don't react. You have 10 seconds, Caleb said. 10, 9, 8. I made a decision. Probably a stupid one, but it was the only play I had. I stood up, the shotgun lowered. Morrison grabbed at me, but I shook him off. I'm here, I said. Caleb's smile widened. There we go, that's better. Now the weapons. Let the deputy go first, he's not part of this. He doesn't know what he's hunting. Oh, but he's seen too much. He knows what we are. That makes him very much a part of this. Then let me make you a deal, I said, taking a step forward. Tomorrow night is the full moon. Your power will be at its peak. So will theirs. I nodded toward the 3 creatures. Fight me then, 1-on-1. You win, your pack goes free. I win, you call them off. No more killings. Caleb laughed. It was a genuine sound, full of real amusement. You want to fight me at my strongest? That's your plan? I want to fight you when you're not hiding behind your pack, when it's just you and me. Or are you scared that without them, you're just another monster I'm going to put down? The smile faded from Caleb's face. His eyes darkened. You've got guts, Hunter. I'll give you that. Fine. Tomorrow night, midnight. Meet me at the old quarry, 5 miles north of town. You know it? I'll find it. Come alone. Just you and me. And Hunter? He took a step closer. When I'm done with you, I'm going to find everyone you've ever cared about, everyone you've ever saved, and I'm going to make them watch while I eat you alive. He turned and walked back into the forest. The 3 creatures followed him, Jenny casting one last look over her shoulder before disappearing into the darkness. Silence fell over the clearing. Morrison stood up slowly, his gun shaking in his hand. Are you insane? You just agreed to fight him at his strongest. I bought us time, I said. 24 hours to prepare, to figure out a way to beat him. There is no way to beat him. Did you see those things? Did you hear what he said? He's got a whole pack. Then we need to even the odds. I started walking back toward the logging road, toward where we'd left the patrol car. Come on, we've got work to do. What work? What are you talking about? I looked back at him. I'm talking about hunting the hunters. Before tomorrow night, we're going to find every member of that pack, and we're going to give them a choice. Leave Millbrook and never come back, or die. You're going to kill them all? If I have to. Morrison stared at me, and I could see the conflict in his eyes. The law enforcement officer warring with the man who just watched his partner die, with the man who knew that sometimes the law wasn't enough. Finally, he holstered his gun. Tell me what you need. We made it back to Beth's house just after midnight. The lights were still on. She opened the door before we could knock, her face drawn with worry. "Thank God," she breathed. "We heard gunshots. Thought you were—" "We're fine," I said, stepping inside. "But we've got a problem, a big one." Henry, Margaret, and 2 other people I hadn't met were waiting in the living room. An older woman with steel gray hair and a younger man, maybe 23, with the hard look of someone who spent his life outdoors. "This is Linda Kovach," Beth said, gesturing to the woman. "Jimmy's widow. And this is Tyler Grant. He runs the sporting goods store." I nodded to them both, then set my duffel bag on the coffee table and started pulling out supplies. Silver bullets, wolf's bane, mountain ash stakes. "Listen carefully," I said. "Caleb Thorne isn't working alone. He's turned people. Created a pack. At least 3 that we saw, probably more. They're not fully transformed yet, but by tomorrow night when the moon is full, they'll be unstoppable." Linda's hand went to her mouth. "Who? Who did he turn?" "Jenny Mitchell for certain. We saw her. There were 2 others with her, but it was too dark to identify them." Morrison spoke up. "The bite marks. Anyone in town who was bitten and survived. They're infected." "Michael," Beth whispered. "Oh God, Michael Brooks was bitten." "He died. But what if others survived? What if they're hiding it?" Margaret stood up, her face pale but determined. "I can check the hospital records. See who came in with animal attacks in the last few weeks. Anyone who was treated and released." "Do it," I said. "But be careful. If they know we're looking for them, they might panic, might run, or attack." "What's the plan?" Tyler asked. He had a pistol holstered at his hip, probably carried it everywhere since the killings started. "We have until midnight tomorrow," I said. "That's when I'm meeting Caleb at the old quarry. Before then, we need to identify every member of his pack. We need to isolate them, keep them from joining him tomorrow night." "And how do we do that?" Henry asked. I pulled out my hunting knife, the one William had given me. The blade caught the light, showing the ancient symbols etched into the steel. Silver restraints. We trap them, bind them with silver chains. It'll burn them, weaken them, keep them from transforming fully. We hold them until after the full moon passes. "And if they won't let themselves be taken?" Linda asked quietly. I met her eyes. "Then we do what has to be done." The room fell silent. They understood. This wasn't about law enforcement anymore. This was survival. Morrison cleared his throat. "I'll help. I know every family in this town. If someone's acting strange, hiding injuries, I'll know." "I can rally some of the men," Tyler said. "Hunters, people who know how to handle weapons. We'll need backup." "No," I said sharply. "The fewer people who know about this, the better. We don't know who's infected. We can't trust anyone who isn't in this room right now." Beth hugged herself. "This is insane. This is our town. These are our neighbors, our friends." "Your friends are gone," I said, and I hated how harsh it sounded. "The people Caleb bit, the people he turned. They're not coming back. The curse changes them, makes them into something else, something that only wants to hunt and feed." "Can't we cure them?" Margaret asked. "Isn't there a way to reverse it?" "No. Once the transformation completes, once they change under the full moon, there's no going back. The only mercy we can give them is a quick end." Morrison stood up. "I need air." He walked outside, letting the screen door slam behind him. I understood. He was processing, trying to reconcile the world he knew with the nightmare it had become. I turned to the others. "Margaret, get those hospital records. Beth, I need you to make a list of everyone who's gone missing in the last month. Not just the dead ones. Anyone who left town suddenly. Anyone who's been acting strange. Henry, you know this town's history. Are there any other places Caleb might use? Anywhere he might be hiding the pack during the day? Henry thought for a moment. There's the old mining tunnels, about 8 miles north. Been abandoned since the 50s. Deep, dark, perfect place to hide. We'll check it out at first light, I said. Tyler, I need you to get supplies. Silver chains. As much as you can find. Melt down jewelry if you have to. We need enough to restrain multiple people. How much silver are we talking about? All of it. Tyler nodded and headed for the door. Linda stood up to follow him. Mrs. Kovacs, I said. She turned back. I'm sorry about your husband. Her eyes were hard, but tears gleamed at the corners. Just kill the thing that took him from me. I will. After they left, I sat down heavily on the couch. My body ached. My mind was racing, trying to think 3 steps ahead, trying to figure out how to survive tomorrow night. Beth brought me coffee. You look exhausted. I'll sleep when this is over. Can you really beat him, Caleb? I didn't answer right away. William's voice echoed in my memory. Never lie to civilians. They deserve the truth. I don't know, I admitted. He'll be stronger than anything I've ever faced. Faster, and he'll have the full moon on his side. But I've got something he doesn't. What's that? Experience. I've been doing this for 26 years. I've killed things that most people don't believe exist. And I'm still alive. That has to count for something. Margaret came back with a folder. I got the records. 3 people treated for animal attacks in the last 2 weeks. Jenny Mitchell we know about. But there are 2 others. Danny Walsh, Henry's grandson, and Claire Simmons, the schoolteacher. Henry's face went white. Danny? No, he said he fell on some barbed wire. He showed me the cuts. On his arms? I asked. And his neck. Said he was helping repair fences on the Davidson ranch. Were they bite marks? Henry's hands shook. I don't know. I didn't look that close. He's my grandson. I believed him. Where is he now? Home, I guess. He lives in the apartment above the hardware store. Morrison came back inside. We've got a problem. I just got a call from Sheriff Bradley. He's organizing a search party for Jenny Mitchell. Wants every available man out in the woods at dawn. He can't do that, I said. If they go out there, Caleb's pack will slaughter them. Tell that to the sheriff. He thinks this is just a missing person case. Thinks she's lost and hurt somewhere in the forest. I stood up. Then we need to stop him. Where is he? Home, asleep, probably. He's leading the search party himself in the morning. We go to him now. We tell him the truth. He'll never believe it. Then we make him believe. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Morrison followed. Beth called after us. Be careful, Sheriff Bradley he's stubborn, set in his ways. Then I'll just have to be persuasive, I said. The sheriff's house was on the edge of town, a ranch-style home with a pickup truck in the driveway. Lights were off. We rang the doorbell 3 times before a light came on inside. Sheriff Bradley answered the door in pajama pants and a t-shirt, his gray hair sticking up. He was in his 60s, with a weathered face and suspicious eyes. Morrison? What the hell are you doing here at 1 a.m? Sir, we need to talk. About the attacks. About what's really happening. Bradley noticed me standing behind Morrison. Who's this? Garrett Holt. I'm a specialist. I deal with unusual situations. Get off my property. He started to close the door, but I put my boot in the gap. Sheriff, you're planning a search party in the morning. That's a mistake. You send men into those woods, you're sending them to die. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. The thing killing people in this town isn't a bear. It's not a mountain lion. It's something worse. And if you don't listen to me, A lot more people are going to die. Bradley's hand moved to his hip, where his holster would normally hang. Morrison, you bring this lunatic to my house in the middle of the night? You're suspended. Go home. Sir, please. The howl cut through the night, long and mournful. Close. Too close. All three of us froze. It came again. From the forest behind the sheriff's house, maybe 100 yards away. That's not a wolf, Bradley whispered. No, I said. It's not. A shape emerged from the tree line, walking on two legs, hunched. Wrong. It was coming for us. Inside. Now, I said, shoving both men through the door. Bradley stumbled backward into his living room. What the hell? Lock the doors, windows, everything. I unslung the shotgun from my shoulder, chambering around. Morrison, cover the back. The deputy drew his weapon and ran toward the kitchen. I heard him bolt the back door, check the windows. Bradley just stood there, staring at me like I'd lost my mind. Then another howl split the night, closer now, and his face went pale. What is that? Remember those stories your grandfather told you? About things in the mountains? Things that walked like men but weren't? I moved to the front window, careful to stay to the side. They were all true. Through the window I could see it clearly now. The creature was maybe 50 yards away, moving through the sheriff's backyard with an unnatural gait. Its body was caught mid-transformation, human legs bent backward at the knee like a wolf's, arms too long, ending in clawed hands. The head was the worst part. A human face stretched and distorted, the jaw extended, teeth too large for the mouth. Dear God, Bradley breathed. He'd moved up beside me, looking out. That's Danny Walsh, I said quietly. Henry's grandson, Caleb Thorne, bit him. Now he's changing, and by tomorrow night, that transformation will be complete. The creature stopped. Its head swiveled toward the house, toward us. Even from this distance, I could see its eyes glowing yellow in the darkness. Can we help him? Bradley asked. Can we save him? No! Danny, or what Danny was becoming, dropped to all fours. Muscles bunched beneath its skin. It was preparing to charge. Get away from the window, I said. We both moved back just as Danny launched himself forward. He covered the distance impossibly fast, hit the front door with enough force to crack the frame. The whole house shook. Morrison came running from the kitchen. What was that? Another impact. The door splintered. I could see claws reaching through the gap, tearing at the wood. We need to move. Back door, now. Bradley grabbed a rifle from a case on the wall, loading it with trembling hands. This is my home. I'm not running from... The door exploded inward. Danny came through in a shower of splinters, landing in a crouch in the middle of the living room. Up close, the transformation was even more horrific. Patches of fur sprouted between bare skin. The fingers were elongated, ending in black claws. Drool dripped from its distended jaws, but the eyes were still human, still Danny's eyes, and there was intelligence there. Recognition. He knew who we were. Danny, Bradley said softly. Son, I know you're in there. Fight it. You can fight this. Danny's head tilted, considering. Then his lips pulled back in what might have been a smile. He lunged. I fired. The silver buckshot caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around. He yelped, a sound caught between human and animal, and crashed into Bradley's coffee table, shattering it. Go! I shouted. Morrison and Bradley ran for the kitchen. I followed, pumping another round into the chamber. Behind me, I could hear Danny getting up. Could hear the wet sound of his wound already healing. We burst out the back door into the night. Bradley's property backed up to forest. Thick trees and underbrush. Good cover if we could reach it. We made it 20 feet before Danny came through the back door, ripping it off its hinges. He landed in the grass and immediately caught our scent. His head snapped in our direction. "Split up," I said. "Make him choose. Morrison, head for town. Get help. Bradley, with me." "I'm not leaving." "That's an order, deputy. Go." Morrison hesitated, then ran toward the road. Danny watched him go but didn't follow. His attention was fixed on me and Bradley. Maybe he knew we were the bigger threats. Maybe he just liked the idea of a hunt. We crashed into the tree line. Branches whipped at our faces. Roots tried to trip us. Behind us, I could hear Danny following. He was faster than us, stronger. But the forest was dense enough to slow him down, force him to navigate obstacles. "Where are we going?" Bradley gasped. "Anywhere but here. We need to buy time until sunrise. In daylight, he'll be weaker, might change back." "Might?" "I've never seen a transformation this far along. Don't know if sunrise will be enough." A tree exploded to our right. Danny had barreled through it like it wasn't there. He was paralleling our path now, herding us, cutting off our escape routes. "He's playing with us," Bradley said. "I know." The forest opened into a clearing. A small creek ran through it, maybe 10 feet wide. On the far side, the trees grew thick again. "Across the water," I said. "Running water. Some legends say lycanthropes won't cross it." "Some legends? Worth a shot." We splashed into the creek. The water was ice cold, running fast from mountain snowmelt. It came up to our knees. The current pulled at us, trying to sweep our legs out from under us. Halfway across, I looked back. Danny stood at the edge of the creek, watching us. Not pursuing, just watching with those terrible yellow eyes. "It's working," Bradley said. "He's not following." Then Danny smiled again. And I realized the truth. He wasn't afraid of the water. He was waiting. Waiting for... The howl came from behind us, from the far side of the creek, where we were headed. Another werewolf emerged from the trees. This one was female, smaller than Danny but fully transformed. No humanity left in the face. Just animal hunger. Claire Simmons, the school teacher. "Oh hell," Bradley whispered. We were trapped, Danny on one side, Claire on the other, and between them 2 men with limited ammunition and no way out. Claire took a step into the water. Then another. The legends were wrong, or these creatures were different, strong enough to overcome the old weaknesses. "Back to back," I said, raising the shotgun. "When they come, don't stop shooting." Bradley brought up his rifle. His hands were steady now. Fear had given way to determination. The look of a man who knew he was probably going to die, but was going to take as many of the enemy with him as he could. Danny entered the water from the other side. They came at us slowly, savoring it. 2 predators closing on cornered prey. I aimed at Claire, Bradley at Danny. The creek rushed around our legs. The moon watched from above, fat and almost full. "On 3, I said. 1. A gunshot cracked through the night. Claire's head snapped back. She stumbled, fell into the creek. The current caught her body and swept it away. Another shot. Danny roared in pain, clutching his side. "Get down!" a voice shouted. Tyler Grant emerged from the trees behind where Claire had been standing. He had a hunting rifle and what looked like silver bullets. Behind him came Linda Kovacs with a pistol and Henry with a shotgun of his own. "Thought you might need backup," Tyler called out. Danny, seeing the odds shift, turned and fled into the forest. His howl of rage echoed through the trees, followed by answering howls from deeper in the mountains. The pack was calling to each other. We waded out of the creek on Tyler's side. Bradley collapsed on the bank, his breath coming in ragged gasps. "You saved our lives," he said. "Morrison came and got us," Linda explained. "Said you were in trouble." We grabbed what weapons we could and followed your trail. Henry was staring at the water where Claire's body had disappeared. She taught my grandchildren, helped my wife when she was sick. And now, she wasn't Claire anymore, I said gently. What you killed was mercy. Then why don't I feel merciful? I didn't have an answer for that. Bradley stood up slowly, leaning on his rifle. You were right. About all of it. What do we do now? I checked my watch, 3 in the morning. 21 hours until my meeting with Caleb. Now we hunt the rest of them, I said, before they hunt us. We regrouped at the hardware store. Tyler unlocked the door and we filed inside, a ragtag group of survivors who now knew the truth about their town. Bradley locked the door behind us and pulled down the shades. Danny's apartment is upstairs, Henry said quietly. Should we check it? Not yet, I said. First, we need to prepare. How many silver bullets do we have left? We pooled our ammunition. 23 rounds total. Not nearly enough if we face the whole pack. I can make more, Tyler said. I've got a reloading press in the back. If we can get enough silver. My wife's jewelry box, Linda said. She had a collection. Sterling silver, I'll get it. My store has some silver items, Margaret added. She'd arrived with Morrison a few minutes earlier. Decorative pieces, but real silver. I'll bring everything. Bradley was pacing, his rifle still in hand. How many are we dealing with? How big is this pack? 3 confirmed, I said. Danny, Jenny, and Claire. Claire's dead. That leaves 2, plus Caleb. But there could be more we don't know about. 6 victims total, Morrison said. If Caleb bit them all before killing them, and if some survived long enough to turn, we could be looking at 5 or 6 more, I finished. Henry sat down heavily on a stack of lumber. This is insane. 2 days ago, this was a quiet town. Normal. Now we're talking about werewolves and silver bullets like it's real. It is real, Bradley said. I saw it, saw Danny. That wasn't anything natural. The mining tunnels, I said, turning to Henry. You said they're 8 miles north. Could the pack be hiding there during the day? Probably. They're deep, dark, go on for miles. Easy to get lost down there. Then that's our next move. We go to the tunnels at first light. Find them while they're weak, while they're sleeping off the night's transformation. That's suicide, Morrison said. Going into enclosed spaces with those things? It's our best chance. In the open, during the full moon, they'll be unstoppable. But now, before the moon reaches its peak, they're still vulnerable, still part human. Tyler came back with a cardboard box full of silver items. Necklaces, rings, bracelets. This is everything I could find in the store. Not much, but it's a start. Linda returned with another box. Here, take it all. I picked up a heavy silver candlestick. This will work. Melt it down. Make as many bullets as you can. We'll need them. How long until sunrise? Bradley asked. I checked my watch. 3 hours. We rest until then. Eat something. Check your weapons. At first light, we move on the tunnels. And if we find them? Henry asked. I met his eyes. We end this. Before midnight. Before I have to face Caleb alone. Margaret spoke up. What about the others? The people in town who don't know? Should we evacuate them? Where would they go? Bradley said. And if we tell them the truth, we'll cause a panic. People will run into the woods, right into the pack's territory. He's right, I said. We keep this contained. We handle it ourselves. After it's over, we can decide what to tell people. We spent the next 2 hours preparing. Tyler melted down the silver and cast new bullets, working with practiced efficiency. Morrison and Bradley inventoried weapons. Henry drew a map of the mining tunnels from memory, marking the entrances and the main shafts. I sat apart, cleaning my weapons and trying not to think about what was coming. William's voice echoed in my head. Every hunt could be your last. Make peace with that, or it'll get you killed. I'd made peace with it a long time ago, but I'd never hunted anything like this. Never faced a werewolf pack on the night before the full moon. Beth arrived just before dawn, carrying coffee and sandwiches. Thought you might be hungry. Thank you. She sat down beside me. My kids are asking questions, asking why they can't go to school, why I'm so scared. What did you tell them? That there's a dangerous animal in the woods, that everyone needs to stay inside for a few days. She looked at me. That's not really a lie, is it? No, it's not. Will this be over tonight? One way or another. The sun rose slowly, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Beautiful, peaceful, a lie like I'd thought before. We loaded into 3 vehicles, Bradley's patrol car, Tyler's truck, and my F-150. 9 of us total. 9 people against an unknown number of monsters. The drive to the mining tunnels was quiet, everyone lost in their own thoughts. I watched the forest pass by, looking for signs of movement, but the woods were still. Even the birds seemed to have fled. The tunnel entrance was hidden by decades of overgrowth. A gaping mouth in the side of the mountain with rusted rail tracks leading into darkness. A chain-link fence had been erected at some point, warning signs posted. Danger! Keep out! Unstable structure! We parked and gathered at the entrance. The smell hit me immediately. Rot and sulfur and something else, something animal. They're in there, I said quietly. Bradley cut the chain with bolt cutters. The fence swung open with a rusty squeal that echoed into the tunnel. Stay together, I said. Stay quiet. Silver bullets only. And if something comes at you, don't hesitate. Don't try to talk to it. Don't try to save it. Just shoot. We entered the darkness. The tunnel descended sharply, the old rail tracks still visible beneath decades of dirt and debris. Our flashlights cut through the blackness, but the beams seemed to be swallowed by the darkness ahead. Water dripped somewhere deeper in. The sound echoed, making it impossible to tell how far down the tunnel went. We'd gone maybe 50 yards when Morrison held up his hand. Wait. Listen. We stopped. At first, I heard nothing but our own breathing and the drip of water. Then I heard it. A sound like breathing. But wrong. Too deep. Too labored. Coming from ahead of us. Weapons ready, I whispered. The breathing grew louder, closer, and then I saw them. Eyes. Multiple pairs. Glowing yellow in the darkness. They were watching us from deeper in the tunnel. How many? Bradley breathed. I counted. 4 pairs of eyes. 4 creatures. More than we thought, I said. One of them stepped into the beam of my flashlight. A man, or what had been a man. The transformation was incomplete. Caught halfway. He was naked, covered in patchy fur, his body twisted and wrong. I recognized him. Tom Harrison, the first victim who'd been killed in his backyard. But he wasn't dead. He'd been turned. And now he stood before us, something between human and monster. Tom? Bradley said. My God, Tom, is that you? Tom's mouth opened. A sound came out that was almost words. Almost human. Run, he rasped. Run while you still can. Then he changed. His body convulsed, bones cracking, muscles tearing and reforming. The other 3 did the same. The sounds were horrible. Inhuman. Back to the entrance, I shouted. Move! We ran. Behind us, howls echoed through the tunnel. The sounds of pursuit. Of hunger. We burst out into daylight. I spun, raising the shotgun. Form a line! Don't let them get past us! They came out of the tunnel like demons from hell. 4 of them, fully transformed now. Tom Harrison, Jenny Mitchell, her wounds from my earlier shooting already healed. And 2 others I didn't recognize. We opened fire. The silver bullets tore through them. Tom went down first, 3 rounds to the chest. He collapsed, convulsing, black blood pooling beneath him. Jenny took a shot to the head from Tyler's rifle. She dropped instantly, but the other 2 kept coming. One of them, a younger man, maybe mid-20s, leaped at Morrison. The deputy fired twice, missing both times. The creature's claws raked across Morrison's shoulder, spinning him around. He went down hard. I fired, catching the creature mid-leap. It crashed into the dirt beside Morrison, thrashing. Linda finished it with 2 shots from her pistol. The 4th werewolf was faster. It dodged between us, heading straight for Henry. The old man raised his shotgun, but his hands were shaking. He fired too early, the shot going wide. The creature hit him like a freight train. They went down together, the werewolf's jaws snapping inches from Henry's throat. Bradley was there in an instant. He pressed his rifle against the creature's skull and fired. Once, twice, 3 times. The werewolf went limp, and Bradley kicked the body off Henry. "Everyone okay?" I called out. Morrison was bleeding but alive. Henry was shaken but uninjured. The rest were intact. 4 werewolves dead. That left Danny somewhere in the forest. And Caleb. "We need to get back to town," I said. "Treat the wounded, prepare for tonight." "What about Danny?" Henry asked, his voice breaking. "He'll come back. When the moon rises, they all will. Whatever's left of the pack. They'll come for revenge." We loaded into the vehicles. Morrison needed stitches. Tyler had claw marks across his arm. But we'd won this round. Back in Millbrook, we converted the hardware store into a fortress. Boarded up windows, reinforced doors, set up shooting positions on the 2nd floor. If the pack came for us, we'd be ready. Beth brought medical supplies. Margaret treated Morrison's wounds while I cleaned and reloaded weapons. "What time is it?" Bradley asked. 6 p.m., 6 hours until midnight. "Will Caleb still meet you after we killed his pack?" "He'll come. His pride won't let him back down. And he'll want revenge." The sun set slowly, reluctantly, as if it knew what darkness would bring. I watched it disappear behind the mountains and felt the familiar weight settle over me. The weight of knowing that in a few hours, I'd be fighting for my life. At 11 p.m. I gathered my gear, the shotgun, the .45, Williams knife, wolf's bane in my pockets, silver rounds loaded in every weapon. "You don't have to do this alone," Bradley said. "We can come with you." "No, I made a deal. And if I don't show, he'll come here. He'll kill everyone in this town. This is the only way." "Then at least take this." Henry pressed something into my hand. A silver cross on a chain. My wife's. She wore it every day until she died. Said it kept her safe. Maybe it'll do the same for you. I put it around my neck. "Thank you." Morrison shook my hand. "If you don't come back, burn the body, salt the earth. Make sure nothing comes back." I walked out into the night alone. The old quarry was 5 miles north. I drove slowly, watching the moon rise, full and bright and terrible. I could feel its pull, could imagine what it must be like for the cursed. The transformation, the loss of control, the hunger. The quarry appeared as a gaping wound in the earth, a massive pit where miners had once extracted copper ore. Now it was just a crater filled with dark water and memories. Caleb stood at the edge, waiting. The moonlight turned his skin silver. He'd already transformed, not fully, but enough. His body was larger, more muscular. Claws extended from his fingertips. His eyes glowed yellow. "You came," he said. "I'm impressed. After what you did to my family today, I thought you'd run." "I don't run." "No, I can see that. He began to circle me. You killed 4 of mine. That was a mistake. They were already dead. I just finished it. Philosophical, I like that. He stopped, facing me directly. But now it's just you and me. And I'm curious. Do you really think you can beat me? Tonight of all nights? I raised the shotgun. Let's find out. He moved faster than anything I'd ever seen. One moment he was 20 feet away, the next he was on top of me. The shotgun went flying. His claws raked across my chest, shredding my shirt and the flesh beneath. I rolled, came up with the knife, slashed at him, caught his arm. He howled and backed off, black blood dripping from the wound. Silver, he hissed. Smart. We circled each other. I could feel blood running down my chest. The wounds burned, but I stayed focused, stayed calm. Caleb lunged again. I sidestepped, drove the knife into his ribs. He grabbed my wrist, crushing it. I felt bones crack, dropped the knife. His other hand went for my throat, lifted me off the ground. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The world started to fade. William's voice. When you can't win with strength, win with cunning. I stopped fighting against his grip. Let my body go limp. Caleb smiled, thinking he'd won. Then I grabbed the silver cross around my neck and pressed it against his face. The reaction was instantaneous. His skin burned where the cross touched. Smoke rose from the wound. He screamed and dropped me. I hit the ground, gasping. Grabbed the shotgun with my good hand. Caleb was stumbling backward, clawing at his burned face. I fired, once, twice, 3 times. Silver buckshot tore through him. He fell to his knees. This is for everyone you killed, I said. For every life you destroyed. I fired again. Point blank. Center mass. Caleb collapsed. His body convulsed, the transformation reversing. The fur receded, the claws retracted. In moments he was just a man again. A dying man, staring up at the moon. The curse, he whispered. It's finally over. Then he was gone. I stood there for a long time, bleeding, broken, but alive. The moon watched from above, indifferent to the violence below. Finally, I walked back to my truck. Made it to the hardware store just before dawn. They were waiting. When they saw me, beaten and bloody but alive, they cheered. It's over, I said. Caleb's dead. The curse is broken. Henry helped me inside. Margaret cleaned my wounds. Bradley called the state police. Started the long process of explaining what had happened, or at least, the version we'd agreed to tell. 3 days later, I left Millbrook. The town was healing. Building memorials for the dead. Trying to move forward. As I drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror one last time. The mountains loomed behind the town, dark and eternal. And somewhere in those mountains, Danny Walsh was still out there, still cursed, still changing with the moon. The hunt never really ends. Garrett's battle in Millbrook is a brutal reminder that some bloodlines carry curses that span generations, and some monsters hide behind human faces until the moon reveals their true nature. The hunt for Danny Walsh continues under the Montana sky. And the question remains, will the hunter become the hunted? Like this video if you felt the terror of that midnight confrontation. Comment below what was more terrifying for you, the transformation scenes or the realization that neighbors and friends could become monsters. Share it with someone who needs to know that werewolves still prowl the forests and hunters still stalk the shadows. And if you have the courage to face what lurks in the darkness, subscribe to Mr. Midnight Horror and hit that notification bell. Because when the next full moon rises, you'll want to know what creatures emerge from the woods.